Hey everybody, it's GauntletX and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. Today I'll be playing the Sealed Ravnica Mixer Event. This is going to be a special sealed event with 3 packs of Guilds of Ravnica and 3 packs of Ravnica Allegiance. Now, I'm probably not going to do as many of these as I did the Dominaria drafts, probably not going to do the full daily just because sealed events are quite a bit more expensive than even Premier drafts in terms of the prize out that you get. In Premier drafts you can get really close to breaking even at 4 wins, but in sealed you get that same 1400 gems, but at a much higher entry fee of 2000 gems, so you don't actually break even until 6 wins in sealed. So pretty much going to cost you some gems and gold. So sealed events are only really good when you legitimately want to be collecting the cards, so only like early in the format are they a pretty good value in my deal. But should still be a fun time, should be a nice blast from the past to see how things are going back in Ravnica, see how the guilds are doing. We've got 3 packs again of guilds and Ravnica Allegiance, so all 10 of the guilds are going to be equally distributed here. So let's see what we open up and see if we can't have a fun time with this event. Alright, so for our rares, we have Angel of Grace being probably the strongest rare that we've opened up. 5 mana for a 5/4 flash flyer. When it enters the battlefield until the end of turn, damage that would reduce your life total to less than 1, reduces it to 1 instead. And you can exile it from your graveyard and spend 6 mana to make your life total become 10. Incredibly powerful card. All it needs to be is a 5 mana 5/4 flash flyer for it to be great, and it has some narrow abilities that might also assist you. Warrington Warden's probably my second favorite rare here. This is a 2 mana tempo play to put an attacking or blocking creature on top of its owner's library, or a 5 mana 4/4 flying vigilance, so a Sarah Angel that's slightly harder to cast since it is 2 colors, but still an incredibly powerful card. After that, probably Beast Whisperer, I suppose. 4 mana for a 2/3. Whenever you cast a creature spell, you draw a card, so good in a creature-heavy deck. Then we have Theater of Horrors, which is the kind of spectacle Phyrexian Arena. 1 black and red for an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library. During your turn, if an opponent lost life this turn, then you can play lands and cast spells among the exiled cards. So it's a card draw engine as long as you can consistently damage your opponent. It has a built-in way to do that later in the game. You can spend 4 mana to deal 1 damage to target opponent or planeswalker. And then in last place we have Runaway Steamkin, because you have to be a pretty heavy red deck. And in this sealed format where there's a ton of multicolored, especially a ton of multicolored from both of the Ravnica sets, it's going to be pretty unlikely that you can be super heavy into one particular color. That being said, this was an absolute house in standard and mono red aggro decks, so if you do open a boatload of red cards, it is going to be a strong card. And then the last one is just the mana-fixing Overgrown Tomb. Always good to have, just not particularly exciting to see. So in Ravnica Sealeds, and in Sealeds in general, I do like to take a look at my colorless and multicolored cards first, because those are some of the strongest cards, some of the cards that can really pull you into particular color pairs. So our colorless is fairly weak, but if we play a pretty multicolored deck, then Gatekeeper Gargoyle will be quite large, because gates are the common dual lands in the format. So if you're running a lot of colors, you're going to be running a lot of gates, and this will come out with a ton of power, a ton of +1/+1 counters. Screaming Shield's just not great. Gateway Pauses are just okay if you're like 3-4 colors. Sphinx of the Guild Pact is a pretty strong flyer. It is a lot of mana, but a 7 mana 5/5 flyer is pretty good, and it can't be targeted by monocolored removal from your opponents, so sometimes they'll just be sitting with removal that they can't use, and this will just close the game pretty quickly. There's Shark to Crab and Simic, an incredibly powerful adapt card, a 4 mana 4/4. When you adapt it, it gets a +1/+1 counter and taps something down for 2 turns. Growth Spiral, draw a card, put a land from your hand onto the battlefield. Fine card, nothing super solid. Incubation Incongruity is not super great and limited. But we do have a Simic Guildgate for that. We've got the Selesnya Guildmage, the Conclave Guildmage here, which is a fine card, great late game mana sink, just keep spitting out little 2/2s. And 1 Selesnya Guildgate, so not a ton of Selesnya going on. We've got 2 Boros Guildgates, but no Boros cards. In Gruul we have Rhythm of the Wild and Clan Guildmage, 2 fine little additions, but neither are super exciting to me. Rhythm of the Wild's pretty strong in the right deck. It feels more like a constructed card to me. In Golgari, we just have a Golgari Locket. In Rakdos, though, we have Get the Point, the great removal spell, instant speed and use Scry when you cast it, Theater of Horrors, the card Dry Engine, and Footlight Fiend, a solid 1-drop, dealing a damage to any target when it dies, so that's pretty great. And Is It, all we have is the Piston Fist Cyclops, which is fine. It's a really annoying blocker, and when you get to attack with it, it is a 3-mana 4/3. In Dimir, we have a Whisper Agent, decent flash card because it does have that Surveil attached, Notion Rain's powerful card draw, Surveil 2, draw 2. Surveil 2 is like scrying, except you put the cards into your graveyard instead of the bottom of your library. Ooh, Disinformation Campaign. This is an excellent Dimir card. This is 3 mana to draw a card and have your opponent discard a card. And then every time you surveil, you put this card back into your hand to just recast it again later. And we have at least those 2 other ways to surveil. So if we have a lot of other ways to surveil in our colorless cards, we're going to take a big look at Dimir, because Disinformation Campaign and Notion Rain are both excellent cards. In Orzhov, we have Orzhov Locket and a removal spell, Final Payment, solid cards. In Blue-White, we have Warrant and Warden. Kind of interested in looking towards Esper now, because we see these powerful blue-black cards. We have the powerful white mythic rare, this powerful white-blue rare, so white, blue, and black could be a way to go. So let's move on to the front now and start looking through the colors from front to back. So now we've got in white, fine cards, a filler 2/2 that maybe gains a bit of life, little 2/1 that could be flying. It's a pretty great aggressive card, the Sunhome Stalwart, a 2/2 First Strike and Mentor for only 2 mana. Rock Charger is going to be great in an aggressive deck, giving another attacking creature flying. Syndicate Messenger is just a pretty good deal, 4 mana for a 2/3 flyer that spits out a 1/1 flyer when it dies. Angel of Grace is going into our white deck no matter what, and the other cards are just fine, kind of much more filler than everything we've put in here. So some pretty good aggressive white cards. If we go for that 3-color white, blue, black deck, we're probably going to be somewhat controlling, so we're probably looking to white for just the splash here, even though it would be splashing in a double white card, which is a little more difficult than usual. This is a Ravnica Sealed, so there's going to be more mana fixing than normal in terms of the guild gates and lockets that we can slap into our deck to cast this Angel of Grace. In blue, we do have some more Surveil. Night Veil Sprite will surveil every time it attacks. A really insane combo with the Disinformation Campaign. Radical Ideas, fine card draw. Unexplained Disappearance is another way to surveil. That's decent interaction. Mesmerist and Shimmer aren't that exciting. Wild Mist isn't that exciting. Unless we're super controlling, I guess we could go for it. Arrester's Admonitions, a pretty decent tempo play. 3 mana to return a creature to its owner's hand and draw a card if you cast it in your main phase. Double Clear the Mind. We could go for the really grindy control deck here. If you have Double Clear the Mind, then that can guarantee you will never mill out. So you can play a deck that is just a mountain of removal, and you can leverage these Clear the Minds to shuffle your graveyard back into your library every time you draw them, which will refill your library to where you have a higher non-land to land count than your opponent, and you just grind out the game by consistently drawing more removal than they draw threats. Clear the Mind deck is a very interesting strategy that we might try to go for here. Muse Drake definitely can just get right in there. 1/3 flyer, draws a card when it hits the board. Pretty fine deal. Prying Eyes is a pretty great card draw spell for a Clear the Mind style control deck because it digs very deep, drawing 4 cards, then discarding 2. So pretty good looking controlling blue stuff, I would say. We move on to black now. Deadweight, Barrier of Bones does surveil, so if we are running that Disinformation Campaign, we may run the Barrier of Bones. Very filler though, just a 0/3 body, but it does help us cast cards like Severed Strands if we want to run that. That is a removal spell that requires sacrificing a creature. Grotesque Demise does not require sacrificing a creature, so we'll slap that in. Ill-Gotten Inheritance is okay. It was definitely incredibly overrated during Ravnica Allegiance draft, but it is a solid card. Undercity Scavenger's fine if you have a lot of creatures to sack. Blade Juggler is always going to be good, even if you can't get that Spectacle. 3/2 that draws you a card when you play it is pretty great. And Lotleth Giant is just really big and expensive. Alright, not actually a ton going on in black. Moving on to red. We've got a cavalcade if we have a bunch of goblin gatherings, but it's not likely to happen. Very filler creatures here. Filler aura, another filler creature. There's the steam can. We do have a burning tree vandal. Ooh, red looks incredibly filler. Rebel Belt Recluses are huge for only 5, and Flames of the Razor is a pretty big instant. But when you look at everything at cheaper mana costs, it all looks incredibly filler to me. Not a huge fan of the red. Moving on to green, we do have Generous Stray, Sprouting Renewal, which are pretty good. We have that Beast Whisperer for a bunch of card draw. Some filler creatures like Axebane Beast and Crawl Foragers, Mammoth Spider, Vigor Spore Worm's pretty good. Big Scary Game Ender and Wrecking Beast is as well. But no massively huge reasons to be in green. I think I'm pretty happy to attempt to build this Esper deck, so I'm going to go ahead and build that, and we'll see how it looks when it's all together. Alright, so here is the kind of Esper Clear the Mind control deck we're going for. We're definitely pretty lacking on the removal to go that far deep on the Clear the Mind strategy, but with double Clear the Mind and Sealed, that's not going to happen too often, especially with only 3 packs of Ravnica Allegiance, so I want to take this opportunity to attempt it at least here. We've got the really good Surveil synergies with Disinformation campaign. I'm certainly very excited to do that. We definitely have some game enders that don't involve grinding the game out completely, some really big late game flyers. The Angel of Grace is a 5 mana 5/4 flyer, Sphinx of the Guild pack for a 7 mana 5/5, and Warden has the 5 mana 4/4 flying Vigilance. So we've definitely got some other game enders. Couple little walls to sit behind while we chip away with our flyers. Decent amount of little removal, just not as much as you'd want to Clear the Mind deck. We have Deadweight, Final Payment, Severed Strands, Grotesque Demise, and that's about it. But yeah, looks like a pretty interesting deck to start off the Ravnica Mixer Sealed. So without further ado, let's get into the gameplay. Alright, so here we are in game 1. Looks like a pretty great opening hand to me. Nice tempo play here, and then we can remove the first creature. Great draw spell that we've just drawn into. We've got that Clear the Mind to shuffle all these goodies back in after we've used them to kind of stack our deck. Runaway Steamkin is the start from our opponent. Little concerning, but it's unlikely to become a 4/4 this turn, so Grotesque Demise should put in some work. Piston Fist Cyclops is definitely going to be a problem for us. That is a big, scary threat here. We could Admonition the Cyclops, but then they recast it, make Steamkin a 3/3. Still small enough to die to a Grotesque Demise, but that way we can guarantee we're not taking 4 next turn, we just take 3. If they don't have an instant or sorcery in hand, though, then we just take 0 this turn, so I'll just go for the Grotesque Demise right now, go for the Arrester's Admonition next turn. Electrostatic Field is the play. They did not have an instant or sorcery, so we get a turn off from that. So Arrester's Admonition, Orzhov Locket, cast nothing else if we do the Locket this turn, though. I think I like Admonition on the Cyclops here. Get them to recast that next turn. Now we have Warrant and Warden to put their card on top of their library to slow them down as well. We could play Blade Juggler here. It is big enough to block the Cyclops if they don't kill it. If they do kill it, then they blow it up. We take 1 from field and 4 from Cyclops, so that would be a bad sign. So we'll see. Alright, they do kill it with Direct Current. This is a pretty great Izzet deck for a sealed pool. Very synergistic so far. 7 mana after we play this Locket, which means we're at the time to play Sphinx of the Guild Pact. Could hold up a Warrant and Warden here, or I can Notion Rain and go to 10 and then get hit for 5 if they cast another instant or sorcery, which is easy with Direct Current, and that hits me for even more. Yeah, Direct Current's a really bad time. I guess we could shuffle their Direct Current back into their library here to make sure they can't cast that, but I think I would rather just Warrant to put their Cyclops on top of their library, force them to redraw it and deal no damage to me with it this turn. Skewer the critics. Big smack here, down to 8. Slam that Cyclops on top of their library. Yeah, this is a phenomenal Izzet deck. Drop our Sphinx of the Guild Pact. Hope for no multicolored removal. Piston Fist Cyclops is back. We've got a Prying Eyes now. Draw 4, discard 2. Definitely better than Notion Rain here. We are too low on life for that. I want one of these lands. I think I discard Notion Rain here. Discard Notion Rain. Discard 1 Swamp. Can Disinformation Campaign or hold up an Unexplained Disappearance. I would rather have the Disinformation Campaign on board before I use the Unexplained Disappearance, but Unexplained Disappearance is a pretty safe card here. Because if they play the multicolored card that taps down the Sphinx and does 2 damage to me, then I just die. Because I go to 6, go to 5, take 4 there, and then I'll die to a direct current soon enough. I think I have to hold up the Unexplained Disappearance, and if I don't have to use it here, then I can play Disinformation Campaign next turn. But I may have to use it here. Ooh, Grixis from our opponent. Could be splashing for Rakdos removal like Get the Point. Acrobat. That can be a death-touching attacker. That's going to be an issue. Oh, they're going to scoop him up. I was going to say we don't have the Disappearance here, so... Actually, probably don't. We go to our turn, Disinformation Campaign, then Disappearance. Surprised they scooped them up there. Maybe they thought this is protection from something? Doesn't have protection, though, and I can't really attack in. Maybe they just had somewhere to be. Definitely happens. Alright, I'll take it. I was really interested to see where that would go. I'm definitely scared against the Izzet deck that has burn spells like Skewer the Critics and Direct Current of being at 8 life, especially with an electrostatic field on their board, but our next turn was going to be very good if I held myself off from playing that Unexplained Disappearance. We get to play the Disinformation Campaign. Whatever we draw for turn could be something good. We would draw 2 cards. Could we draw 1 for turn plus 1 from campaign? Then when we Unexplained Disappearance to survive, we would also pick up the Disinformation Campaign and we'd surveil off of this. As soon as we get one of our walls, we can Severed Strands to gain a bunch of life, to be at a much more comfortable life total. A lot of stuff, meaning that we had a good chance to start stabilizing soon there. Here we are in game 2, we got that Disinformation Campaign, let's go. We are running very few straight up white sources in this deck. We have basically 4 or 5. We have an Orzhov Guildgate, 2 of the gate that does any color, and 1 Orzhov Locket, I believe. So I think 4 white sources. And the reason is because the only thing that's hard to cast off the white is Angel of Grace. And we can wait on an Angel of Grace. It's going to be super powerful at any point in the game. Whereas Warrant and Warden, even if we don't have white mana, we can cast Warrant, and we only need 1 to hit Warden. So that's why you're seeing just a ton of islands and swamps, no plains coming up. Alright, so green, blue, red, and black from our opponents. Some fun stuff from them. Some annoying stuff from them. You can't blow up our Disinformation Campaign. Main deck Artifact Enchantment Removal. That is why earlier I was saying Sprouting Renewal was pretty good, because main deck Artifact Enchantment Removal does play around some nasty cards like Disinformation Campaign. We do have a Clear the Mind here, though, and I'm not going to want to bounce a 1-2, so let's Clear the Mind 1 Disinformation Campaign back into the deck. And maybe we'll redraw it later. Either way, just cycle that to draw a card because we aren't doing anything else with our mana that turn. Well, we get one of our white sources towards the Angel of Grace, and that would be all the mana we need towards Warden. So definitely drop that down. And just hold up our Unexplained Disappearance. There's a bunch of black cards in hand, I guess. like the Rakdos Trumpeter? Yeah, it's looking that way. Ooh, it's back. Disinformation Campaign is back. That's hilarious. It's probably a bunch of removal in hand, but I still think I have to just jam Warden over just Disinformation Campaign here. But we'll find out for sure now. If they can blow up this 4/4 Flying Vigilance, they're definitely going to. No, maybe just really stuck on colors. So now we get to just start shredding their hands, or just playing another flyer. Probably better to play another flyer. Then just shred their hand with this Disinformation Campaign, because that'll just close the game out more quickly, give them less opportunities to draw out of their color screw. Dimir Guildgate, there you go. That's the black source for sure. So now I think we can Disinformation Campaign and just start ripping away their hand. And drawing cards of our own. Now, in order to do this again, Gravitic Punch in the grave, so if they play a big creature, we take a bunch of damage. In order to do this again, I have to Unexplained Disappearance right now. So I don't actually think I get to just double Disinformation Campaign currently. But we can play a Whisper Agent during their turn to pick it up to play it again during ours. But yeah, it's not worth the recast of Disinformation Campaign if it means bouncing their Generous Stray or our own 5/5. But that is the concession from our opponent. Just played a very multicolored deck and got stuck off of the color that was primarily in their hand, I guess. So 2-1, or no, 2-0. All right, excellent hand mana-wise here. Solid keep. Great cheap removal as well. Open the gates from our opponent turn 1. That card's going to enable a lot of multicolor shenanigans in this format. Picks up whatever gates you need. So they go for the Rakdos gate. I guess I should have played my black source so I could final payment here if I wanted, but I don't really want to pay 5 life to kill a Cerulean Caretaker here. And let's get our Disinformation Campaign down. The Caretaker's not important until they have another creature out to tap for mana, but it will be important at that point. So we might try to kill it later. Orzhov Enforcer. If we kill Orzhov Enforcer with Deadweight, they just get a token out of it anyway. Unexplained Disappearance does put Campaign back into our hand, which is nice. So we could Deadweight Enforcer and then Unexplained Disappearance the 1/1 flyer. I'm kind of okay with that. We are kind of 2-for-1ing ourselves to kill this Enforcer, but we get the value back by bringing the Disinformation Campaign back to our hand. And this means no Gateway Plaza this turn because I don't have the 1 mana up. Do we need a black source here? We need another blue source. So while we do need 6 mana, we need another blue source in hand. I guess Gateway Plaza is the blue source. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We do need a 6th for Prying Eyes. Sure. I don't know. It is pretty awkward this is a black source. This might be a little greedy, but I am going to throw it in the grave. We've got a lot more card draw in hand, though. Disinformation Campaign, clear the mind before we have to cast Prying Eyes. So we probably hit another land by turn 6 here. Off of those cards. Alright, awesome, and we hit the blue source. That's exactly what we would be looking for here. So no other creature, no other play. We just drop Disinformation Campaign again then, I believe. And then Gateway Plaza here. That is going to force a discard. They're going to destroy it, but they'll still have to discard a card as well. So still a 3-for-1 for us. We draw a card, they discard 2. So we made them discard a forest and a Command the Storm and made them cast a statue on it. So pretty great deal overall. Get this Gateway Plaza down. They're down to 2 cards in hand. Now we start trying to set up our future draws with Clear the Mind. Make sure we just always have gas and our opponent doesn't. We can Prying Eyes or Blade Juggler here. I don't need to get anything on the board that bad, so I'll just hold up my instance and Prying Eyes during their end step. Play the very controlling role here. Child of Night is super fine. It's very easy to get rid of. And we'll Prying Eyes here during the end step. Ooh, an Elgon Inheritance, a Warden, incredible cards here. Discard 2, Final Payment does take a lot of life, Notion Rain does as well, and we've got a lot of cards in hand already. Rester's Admonition kind of just cycles, slows them down. Fine with Admonition. I think I get rid of Notion Rain, maybe even Severed Strands here because it requires a creature sacrifice. Alright, hope for no removal from our opponent. We cast this Warden, we have 2 mana up. That's enough for a Final Payment, I suppose. So if they do have removal, we can sacrifice a creature to this and kill Child of Night without paying life. Just use this in response to their removal. Cool, so we will do that. Sacrifice a creature, destroy Child of Night. Now we set the Elgon Inheritance down to start closing out the game very slowly, and clear the mind to do the same. Ooh, and there's Barrier Bones if we hit a Severed Strands, that'll be good. But it also basically draws us a card there, getting an island out of the way. Rakdos, the Showstopper. Alright, well that's going to be a thing. Didn't destroy anything when it hits the board. It destroys everything at random, like 50-50 shot. We need to get removal for that. Elgon Inheritance does trigger our Blade Jugglers. That's beautiful. However, we could also just Admonition Rakdos and let them recast it. So what if they kill a Barrier Bones? Yeah. Admonition slows them down a turn. And we can just Blade Juggler later here. Blade Juggler next turn because Inheritance is still going to be there. I probably should have kept my draw spell in hand. This is where it is hurting. Plague White 2/1. Do we want to exile that? Yeah. Grotesque Demise is only going to kill something with 3 power or less, so not super likely to kill anything that much bigger. We might as well stop as much damage as we can with it. We do draw Warrant and Warden again, which is good. We can put Rakdos on top of their library, or we can play a 4/4 Flying Vigilance here. I'm actually not sure what's better to do. They hit us for 6 each turn, we hit them for 4 each turn. I guess we do outrace Rakdos, because we'll have 2 creatures down. We do slow them down a lot by putting Rakdos on top of their library, because they deal no damage next turn, and they have to redraw it, so they skip their next draw step after that. I don't know, with Ill-Gotten Inheritance down, I feel pretty safe to try to outrace them if they start attacking with this Rakdos. Unless they draw just a bunch more creatures really quickly, then we will outrace them. Yeah, so they don't even attack, they realize that. Another Clear the Mind. Easy cast here. See what we hit. Prying Eyes, beautiful. We could hit a 1-drop, but it's not going to impact things really. I guess there's no point in waiting till their turn anyway. It's not like we're holding up any other instance. Wall of Mist, Muse Drake. Not bad at all. I mean, I guess Wall of Mist is kind of bad here because they've got a 6/6 in the sky. If they had like a 4/4 on the ground, Wall of Mist would be beautiful. But it's still a huge enabler for Severed Strands. Makes us very safe against ground troops. Unfortunately, there is Bedevil from our opponent off of the Cracked Locket to get rid of our big flyer. Well, it's back. Let's play Muse Drake first, though, and see what we hit. Clear the Mind is such a funny card. It's back to try to outrace them. I think the best thing about this is our opponent has no way to know how many copies of Warrant and Warden we actually have. We just have the 1 copy. But the double Clear the Mind. Ooh, Savage Smash is disgusting here. Definitely Savage. They hit us for 8 damage this turn off of that fight spell. It's got Trample too, so not much point in blocking with Muse Drake. We go down to 9. Night Veil Sprite. That'll start surveilling. This costs 6 mana to crack. We'll have the mana to crack it even after casting a Night Veil Sprite. Cracks for 4 damage to our opponent. They're essentially at 10, minus 4, 6. This is getting really sketchy. We are drawing a lot, filtering pretty well, but our opponent is drawing pretty well off the top. We started essentially at 6 now. Whisper Agent isn't going to draw us a card. Muse Drake alone is enough to block and survive Rakdos, but Ill-Gotten Inheritance, we can just crack it and definitely survive Rakdos. We need to put them down to 6 here. We can't do that even if we attack with everybody. Kind of like Night Veil Sprite, Blade Juggler get in. Unexplained Disappearance is good. It's going to give us more time. But theoretically here what we're doing is we're flashing in Whisper Agent during their end step, going back to our turn, untapping, hitting for 1, cracking Inheritance, hitting them for lethal. That's the theory here. As long as they can't lethal us on their turn, we're good. And we'll have the menace blockers we need for Trumpeter, because we've got Whisper Agent coming down. Even if they kill one of our cards. Attack with just Rakdos. Stop the damage here so I don't have to crack Inheritance yet, so that we can do a damage in our turn. Whisper Agent. I guess if they have instant speed burn, and we die because we try to crack Inheritance and they respond by burning us. Yeah, that would be super bad. Actually, we can make it so we don't die to instant speed burn by bouncing this before blocks, so that we just have 6 lethal on the board. If they have burn, we crack Inheritance. If they don't have burn, they just take 6. Okay, cool. That was a close one. That Rakdos was scary. Rakdos was absolutely terrifying. But we get there off the back of Ill-Gotten Inheritance that game, and definitely Clear the Mind. I think we cast 3 copies of Clear the Mind. So 3-0 now. Alright, another great hand mana-wise, definite keep here. In round 4. Planes from our opponent. Let's drop our swamp, so I guess we have Gateway Plaza. We'll make it so we have every card in our hand up at instant speed, because that'll be the white source, so we'll have white-black for final payment. Boros from our opponent. That's going to be a scary matchup. Boros was an incredibly aggressive guild in Guilds of Ravnica. They start with a Forbidding Spirit. I go down to 15 if I Notion Rain here, because I'm just going to take 3 to the face from the Spirit. Don't really have anything else to do. I guess I can Unexplained Disappearance this Spirit and just slow them down. I could also warrant it and put it back on top of their library to make them skip their next draw step. That's better than disappearancing it. It was really rude early in the game. Yeah, I think I should probably be casting Warden a decent amount of the time over Warden in this deck. It's just such a huge tempo play to make them skip their next draw step. Now I can Night Veil Sprite and hold up Unexplained Disappearance to cast during their end step, or I could just drop Notion Rain. Night Veil Sprite does do something somewhat similar. It's going to be setting up my draws in the future, which is pretty nice. And it's going to enable a Blade Juggler to be spectacled in next turn if the Night Veil Sprite doesn't get killed here. I guess the Forbidding Spirit is going to make me pay mana to attack them. But I will have the mana to attack and play Blade Juggler because of Spectacles specifically. Alright, so we're still kind of just chilling here. Slow down the spirit again. I know I'm making myself get taxed more often here. Which is kind of funny. Dead weight. Yeah, I'll take a dead weight. Yeah, I guess the unexplained disappearance was pretty unnecessary here. Because a 3-2 could just block their 3-3, so I shouldn't be that scared of it. I'll take a Muse Drake. Off the top. Yeah, this video is just Goblet fumbles around with a control deck. Oh, control. The spirit is back. Ooh, Prying Eyes. We're 1 mana away from that, though. Kind of okay with Notion Rain now that we've got the board a little locked up. I think I am going to go for that. Surveil 2, then draw 2 here. White, red, black, and whatever color they want for Guild Mage's Forum. We do want 1 more mana. But not too much more mana, so I don't think we need the Locket. That would get us towards our double white spell if we draw it, but... Could also just hit an Orzhov Guild Gate or another of the 3 color gates. Arrester's Admonition. Do we want to bounce the Forbidding Spirit again? I don't think we do. Really don't think we do when we have a 3-2 to block it. Do we attack here or hold up Final Payment? How badly do I want to Surveil? Is it worth 2 mana? And an attack? At 17 life, it probably is. Again, Final Payment is a decent response to removal from our opponent, and they do have some kind of instant here, so not holding up feels a little whack. Yeah, I mean, it's 1 damage. It's 1 damage, and anything we draw off the top would be fine, even if we hit a land. I don't think there's anything I could draw that I would Surveil away now. So even a land is fine to me. We've got 5 spells that are all gas, especially, you know, a bunch of card draw here. We're going to need a lot of mana to cast a bunch of stuff. So just hold on to Final Payment. We also have Arrester's Admonition up this way. If we need to bounce something really bad, we can do it during our opponent's turn, but we would definitely preferably draw the card off of this. Burglar Rat is going to make us discard a card. It's kinda whack. Oh, I guess you get our dead weight here. If they had any other smaller creatures, they probably would have played them already. And we don't need to dead weight a Burglar Rat. If they play bigger creatures, which is what we're scared of, Admonition and Final Payment are both better. We're definitely not discarding Prying Eyes. It's kind of between Muse Drake and Deadweight there. Intervention for 3 damage to Blade Juggler, and they gain 3 life. We can stop them from gaining life and get rid of Foreboding Spirit here. Bit of a bummer not to hold Final Payment up anymore, but it just makes sure they're not attacking us still, which is pretty important. Could bounce our own Blade Juggler with our Arrester's Admonition. Draw the card off of it when we cast it again. But then again, we're not drawing the card with Admonition. We can get Ill-Gotten Inheritance down here, or drop a Prying Eyes. Probably better to play Inheritance than Muse Drake. So it's these 2 options mainly. Let's see what we Surveil into here. 7 drop. I mean, we're going to keep it, but we're not going to be able to cast it. 1 mana away from that. So if I Prying Eyes now, I'm going to draw 4, then discard 2. I'm going to have to keep 1 land that I hit. Which means I'm going to have to discard at least 1 real card. But it would guarantee that I'm playing a Sphinx of the Guild Pact next turn. It's a pretty big deal. I think that's a big enough deal to just hold Prying Eyes. Just to lock in casting the 7-drop next turn. Down to 16. And light up the stage for our opponent to draw some cards here. Ethereal Absolution, the auto winner. Yep, that's the biggest bomb in Ravnica Allegiance. I have no idea what we can do about that. They can't cast it this turn at least. But that's... I don't know how we win. There's 1 creature in grave. They exile from either grave? Oh, they exile from our grave. We've got 1 creature in our grave. If we can keep creatures out of our grave, that's just going to be really annoying. But not potentially lethal. Give their whole field +1/+1 and our whole field -1/-1. Yeah, that's so bad for us. Alright. Prying Eyes. Discard the Gateway Plaza. We only have 1 more white source in the deck, so if we draw our Angel, that'll be a sad time for the Angel. Gateway Plaza gets discarded. Then... maybe Severed Strands? I really don't want to discard a creature. I don't want to discard Admonition because it can kill a token and draw us a card, which is really nice. But then again, Severed Strands, I might need to kill this Acrobat because it's going to be a 6/3. Get rid of the Admonition. Disinformation Campaign. Unfortunately, Ethereal Absolution is exiled, so that's not going to get that discarded. Let's see if we can hit Clear the Mind. That is not Clear the Mind. Clear the Mind would be massive here, because then we can shut off their ability to make the 1/1 flyers. Be incredibly important. Are they thinking about killing Sphinx of the Guild Pact here? That would be crazy. Because I was going to say, yeah, Ethereal Absolution would just be permanently exiled if they do that. Yeah, we're taking 6. Alright. We need 2 mana to Severed Strands. I'm going to draw cards before that. We can spend 4 on Muse Drake, but that would be it. We can spend 3 on Disinformation Campaign. Yeah, we just do one of these 2. I guess I'd rather Disinformation Campaign here. I guess Muse Drake's slightly better to sacrifice to Severed Strands, but Barrier Bones is way better to sack to Severed Strands because we pick up Disinformation Campaign when we do that, so my draw made that look super smart when it was not. Can make them discard their last card in hand, or we can kill the Spike Wheel Acrobat. Feel like we can chump block it here. For a turn, but we also gain life when we kill it. Again, there's still only 1 creature in our grave right now. Oh, I hope the last card in their hand is good. This feels greedy, but we'll see. Oh, it is. It's Flames of the Raise Boar. That would have been huge. It wipes out everything we have except our Sphinx of the Guild Pact. Do we need to hold up Night Veil Sprite to chump block? And I think I'd rather surveil with it to pick up Disinformation Campaign again. Exile creature power 3 or less. Not gonna do it here. They're down to 13 now. We chump block the Acrobat. They get 2/2/2 flyers off Ethereal Absolution because we'll have 2 cards in our grave. What if we don't chump block? We take 8 and crack back for 4. We could not chump block here. Keep the Berry Bones to sack to Severed Strands. Go to 2, but then we go to 4 when we sack. I think we have to chump block. Because we need to be able to block. We need to be able to not die to 2/1/1 flyers here. But then again, if we chump block, it's going to be 3/1/1 flyers, because they can get a 1/1 flyer currently. Another creature in our grave is another 1/1 flyer. And then we'd have to have a third creature in our grave, because we'd have to cast Severed Strands, so they could get 3 flyers. I'm actually going to no-block it. And try to just keep our card and grave count low enough that they can't make enough flyers to kill us, and Sphinx the Guild Pact can just hold them off. So currently they can get a single 2/2 flyer. We Severed Strands, they can get 2 of them. We have 6 mana up after that. 7 mana if we play an untapped source. So we could play Disinformation Campaign and Ill-Gotten Inheritance, but not Muse Drake and Ill-Gotten Inheritance. So let's cast Disinformation Campaign, because we're pretty sure we're going to do that. We're going to cast a 3-drop, a 2-drop, and a 4-drop this turn. So let's see what we draw into before we do anything. Clear the Mind. Clear the Mind changes things. Now we can make sure they can only make 1 flyer. We cast Clear the Mind, they exile a creature from our grave, they make the flyer. Actually, no, it's not going to work. Because if we Clear the Mind, they'll respond by exiling, and then we cast Severed Strands after the Clear the Mind, and then they exile that one too. So either way, they're going to get 2 flyers here. Okay. We definitely play the untapped source. We Severed Strands to kill the Acrobat and gain 2. We can play Muse Drake so that we don't die to a targeted multicolor removal spell, or we can play Ill-Gotten Inheritance so we start gaining life and closing out this game. 2 creatures in our graveyard. They're going to get 2/2/2 flyers. If they attack us with both, we block 1. I guess we die to any removal right now, because if they kill, they can hit us with Burglaret too. So yeah, probably have to go Muse Drake first. Ill-Gotten Inheritance next turn. I am not enjoying this Ethereal Absolution battle at all. Well, that looks a lot like they've just got lethal. Well, I guess they attack all because every creature we have that dies just gives them another frickin' 2/2 flyer, so that's 2 more 2/2 flyers for them. Even though we killed 1, now they get 2 and we lose our creatures. Yeah, no. I don't know why I ever thought I could beat Ethereal Absolution. I tried. I tried. Had all these plans in my head. But Ethereal Absolution does things. Sunhome Stalwart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They only have the mana to make 1 flyer. So we clear the mind, they can only make 1 flyer here. But we don't have enough life to survive. It's our only way to draw a card, maybe finding out. Orzhov Locket, definitely not an out. Yep, 2 creatures hit us and we die. Ethereal Absolution takes another victim. Alright, that took a little while, but they found it. The amount of time that took, I was like, maybe they don't see it. Maybe we're still in it. We are not still in it. That is going to be 3-1 as we head into round 5. Alright, here we are in round 5. This is going to be the first hand we definitely have to mulligan. And this is a much better looking hand. We've got that disinformation campaign. Can't stop getting that disinformation campaign. I am happy to draw it. What do we get rid of here? It's got to be Warren to Warden or Ill-Gotten Inheritance. Because, like, Campaign Barrier Bones was just peanut butter and jelly. Ill-Gotten Inheritance is kind of our late game win con. Warden's going to be much stronger early on here. Let's go for that. I'm just going to play my island so it automatically passes turn. I don't have to tell it that I don't want to cast Barrier Bones. Alright. Well, nothing. First 3 turns from our opponent. An excellent mana base from them. Wow. I think we have 4 non-basics. They've played 3 on the first 3 turns. Oh, no, we have 3 non-basics total in our deck. So they played our whole deck's worth of non-basics here. Is there red, white, and black minimum? Siege Worm as well. All right. We're going to see a lot of like 5-color piles for sure in this format. Ooh, Deadweight would be a sick draw, and we're going to need it real quick because that's a 5-2 to slam us. I guess we just Severed Strands. We can just Severed Strands this turn off the Barrier Bones. Yeah, that's a pretty good deal. Ooh, and keep that Unexplained Disappearance. Just keep surveilling with this disinformation campaign. Let it do its thing here. Do we want to take 5 damage before we Severed Strands so that we can just cast Disinformation Campaign again immediately? Yes. I am the greedy player. Maximum greed. Just love being rude with Disinformation Campaign. It's a problem. Rakdos Trumpeter. Mildly scary. They can dump a bunch of mana in to do extra damage, but it's not that bad. I could even be super rude here and just Unexplained Disappearance the Hammer Dropper and cast Disinformation Campaign again right now, rather than doing what I should do and playing Severed Strands or even Warden. This is the life we're living today. I'm gonna be honest here. And now we have a way to kill both their creatures. We can Grotesque Demise the Trumpeter, Severed Strands the Hammer Dropper while their mana's down. So this turn we just kill everything, and then they have 2 cards and we have like a million. Why would you double black? Oh, I guess because Gateway Plaza is any color. Yeah, this is fine. That is a fine way to cast that. And then we still have Notion Rain to put Disinformation Campaign back in our hand yet again. Plaza of Harmony gains them some life. They only have 2 cards in hand. Well, again, I could be playing a big flyer here, but let's just go full greed control mode. Dump that stuff in grave and Disinformation Campaign again. Alright, discard a land, so it looks like they're just down to lands in hand pretty much. Conclave Guild Mage is on the board. We're going to need our Deadweight or something to deal with that. Not the scariest thing in the world. We can just drop our big old flyer here. Now that we're at 7. They will start making a bunch of 2/2 knights, but they only make 1 per turn. We can just try to outrace them in the sky with our massive flyers we have in hand. If I cast Warden here for 5, 6, 7, I don't have the mana for anything else, but that's probably worth it. For Flying Vigilance and drop Gateway Plaza, number 2. Alright, Conclave Guild Mage doing its thing, gonna get them a Centaur every turn. They do have the Deadly Visit to kill the 4/4 Vigilant Flyers, so they can get an attack in with this Centaur they made. Alright, attacking both for 4. Muse Drake here, so we've got a blocker for one of them, and we draw a card. We'll probably clear the mind after this. If we just hit a land, we do just hit a land, so let's play a Locket and clear the mind here rather than playing a tapped land. It's going to be better. So again, really upping the non-land count. We have so many spells we cast or surveilled there. It's a pretty excellent clear the mind. Slam in for 5. No, the 2 mana removal for our Hexproof monocolored. Pretty great. We do get to pull another land out of our deck though, which is sweet. Alright, we block one of these and take 2. Barrier of Bones is a draw, so we can now block both of them. I'm going to Surveil here before I do anything else, and then we'll probably crack the Orzhov Locket after the Surveil. We'll keep a Whisper Agent for sure. Oh yeah, and that's oh yeah, and that we've got a disinformation campaign on board. So yeah, let's definitely Surveil before anything else. We killed the Okran Assassin from our opponent. Now we can play a Whisper Agent. We can flash that in to kill one of their creatures here. We can pop the Locket and Whisper Agent. So let's do that. Exactly enough mana for that. Alright, let's offer a trade with Whisper Agent. That was a terrible auto tap. Now we can't pop the Locket anymore. It should have auto tapped triple blue. Unfortunate. Gotta pay more attention to Arena's auto tapper. Well, I guess we can't pop the Locket. We're 1 mana off. I was counting the Locket's mana, so that was on me. Well, we redraw Warden, which is going to be beautiful. Clear the mind again to set up our draws, but let's just Orzhov Locket off quadruple black first. Severed Strands, not super necessary to play that here. Let's clear the mind. Better draw spell than Disinformation Campaign when our opponent has 0 cards in hand. Grotesque Demise is the draw. Alright, sweet stuff. No attacks. I'll trade our 1/3 flyer into their 1/1 Death Toucher here. Can take all kinds of trades down in this deck. We have so much card draw. Alright, they pass turn. Disinformation Campaign, get that 1 card in their hand. Probably just a land, but... Oh, it is a Scorch Mark. Nice. Just not big enough to kill any of our creatures currently. Pretty good stuff. We've got Unexplained Disappearance. To pick up Disinformation Campaign yet again. We may not have a boatload of Surveil, But when we have Clear the Minds to shuffle all the Surveil back into our deck, we can still do some absurd things with this Disinformation campaign. Send in the squad to hit us for 1. Down to 8. Pass turn, we'll go to our turn. Clear the Mind is back again. Kill the token and recast Disinformation campaign. Alright, they're going to scoop them up. They are super over it. I am surprised they lasted as long as they did. I probably would have scooped a while ago. Disinformation campaign is a terrible, no fun, very bad card. We are the villains today, as we are 4-1 heading into round 6. Alright, another Disinformation campaign hand. Disinformation campaign on 3 Whisper Agent the turn after. I'll keep it. Mono blue so far from our opponent. Barrier Bone's an excellent draw for us. Another cheap way to recast a Disinformation campaign. So we can cast it again on turn 4 here. Here's our first Disinformation campaign. Draws us a card, forces them to discard a probably non-blue card. Excuse me. Voice is getting mad at me. Combine Guild Mage. So they are Simic at least. 100% Barrier Bones Disinformation campaign again. And I'm going to get a drink here, so it's going to be silent for a moment. Alright, so our opponent cast a Chemist's Insight in response to Disinformation campaign, so they could really fill their hand even though we're kind of ripping it apart. And now they still have 5 cards in hand and a green source. They look to be a Sultai deck here with a Golgari card discarded, the Undercity Uprising, and a hybrid Golgari, Pitiless Gorgon. So what do we have now? We have Whisper Agent to Surveil for 3 mana. We probably want to just Whisper Agent during their end step, so let's just drop a Gateway Plaza then. And pass the turn. Double Clear the Mind in hand, some great removal, Final Payment and Deadweight, and Grotesque Demise. Pretty big fan of our hand here, but our opponent's hand is still just as large as ours thanks to double Chemist's Insight. And Mammoth Spider will be the play. We can beat that with a Grotesque Demise here. I think I want to Whisper Agent, and then during our turn, Disinformation campaign, Grotesque Demise. We do need to hit a land to do that, but Disinformation campaign being recast plus Surveilling 1 helps us do that. And we did Surveil into the land. Oh wait, we already have a land. Our hand is just so big I didn't notice it sitting in the corner there. Draw a card, make them discard a card. Again, this is just one of these games. You get that early Disinformation campaign. You just go for it. Try to grind out as much value as you can. It's a 2-for-1 every time. So as long as you can just keep repeatedly casting it, it's going to be really hard for your opponent to come back, because you just have more cards than them. Again, even through the double draw spell there, even through the 2-for-1 of Affectionate Indrik into Whisper Agent, we're still doing pretty well. And we'll go ahead and Final Payment, sacrificing our Barrier Bones to kill Affectionate Indrik. And then we'll Clear the Mind to shuffle everything back into our library. We've got the mana to play a Wall of Mist and Clear the Mind here, rather than playing a Gateway Plaza. So we'll do that. Angel of Grace. Well, once we get this Gateway Plaza down, we'll have an Angel of Grace coming down. That'll be a big game ender. Skitter Eel from our opponent, essentially a 5-5 as soon as they adapt it. We've got a Prying Eyes to do a big draw spell. That's probably the plan here. So we Prying Eyes during their end step. This 5-5 is going to be a problem. Although I guess an Angel of Grace would trade into it. Once we have our double white, which will be as soon as we untap. We can't really afford to block here. I guess we could block here and just force them to dump 3 mana into this, but they've got 6 mana here. I guess it keeps them from playing another big scary card. I think I'd rather keep Wall of Mist in case they play things that are smaller than a 5/5. Theoretically that'll happen at some point, and it looks like they were going to adapt it anyway. So not a huge reason to block then. If they were going to soak up the mana on that either way. Alright, Prying Eyes. Huge draw spell. Get rid of land here, I think, because Locket at least can filter into cards later. I guess let's see what we're doing next turn. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. We'll have 3 mana up. Yeah, Angel of Grace plus Locket, or Angel of Grace plus Clear the Mind, even if we discard both of these. Pretty nice. Grotesque Demise, that would have been really good. In response to them trying to adapt the Skitter Eel. But I guess they could attempt to adapt it multiple times, which is fancy. We would cast Grotesque Demise and then just spend another 3 and attempt it again. That would counter Grotesque Demise, so yeah, it doesn't really matter. So now we Angels of Grace, but we can flash that in, so I suppose we play the Locket or the Clear the Mind first. Grave's not that good. Let's just play a Locket for now. It is holding for them every time we cast something, which means they probably have a counterspell. Something instant speed. Okay, it's holding when we go to combat, so it's not necessarily a counterspell. Hopefully it's not a counterspell. We can jam out this Angel of Grace during their turn here. Make us sacrifice a creature. Okay. Sack the Wall of Mist. And would I rather play around a counterspell or play around sorcery speed removal? I think I'd rather play around sorcery speed removal. Feels more likely. I don't think there's a lot of great counterspells in Ravnica. I haven't seen a single person play a counterspell yet. Oh no. Unfortunately, Vigor Spore Worm is going to mess us up either way. That's going to make Skitter-Eel an 8/8 this turn, so we cannot block it well. Just take a huge hit. I guess I could hold on to this Angel of Grace until I'm going to go to 1 life. That feels wrong when it's big enough to trade into either of those on blocks. Yeah, I think I just jam it out now. Barrier of Bones is the draw. That's good for Disinformation Campaign. Yeah, let's go for it here. It's another blocker as well to make us a little safer. Blade Juggler's fine. I really don't like taking damage right now, though. Just get rid of it, dig a card deeper rather than having to dump 5 mana into that to dig 1 card deeper. We'll just put it in the grave and draw whatever it would have drawn, which looks to be an island. Alright, so Muse Drake, then we have 2 mana up after that, so we can deadweight, I guess. Another Prying Eyes, that's pretty huge. So what do we want to deadweight? What does this do? Can't be blocked by more than 1 creature, so we probably just deadweight Vigor Spore Worm, I guess, and make it a 4/2? Or we deadweight that and make it a 3/3. 4/2, 3/3, either way we can only chump block once. So neither is all that helpful for us. But just so we take less damage when they actually get through. I guess if we make a 3/3 we can Grotesque Demise it later. So we can do that, we trade into Vigor Spore Worm and we chump block Skitter-Eel, and then we can Grotesque Demise Skitter-Eel later. And they probably just blow up Angel of Grace here. Put it back to our hand. That's not so bad. Get it to enter the battlefield effect later. They have a +4/+4 trick here? I don't think so. We might want to try to stay out of range of like an Ill-Gotten Inheritance or something. But I kind of want to keep this Muse Drake. Let's see. No +4/+4. So we are at 4 life. They do have Ill-Gotten Inheritance. Great. I think that's just going to kill us either way. I don't think Even if we're at 7 life, Ill-Gotten Inheritance is just gonna shred our soul. Like, we're just not beating that. Okay, well... Grotesque Demise, we need to hold up Angel of Grace mana in response to their Ill-Gotten Inheritance now. Exactly 5 after casting Snipe Veil Sprite. Yeah, I can't cast Angel of Grace to block Vigorous Sporeworm because then they can respond by sacking Ill-Gotten Inheritance. This ended pretty poorly for us. I think I stand by the choice of going down to 4 there. Because the only card that punishes us for it is Ill-Gotten Inheritance, which kills us either way. It just kills us slower if we could cast this Angel of Grace. Don't have the mana to play Sphinx and Angel. Don't have the mana to play Prying Eyes and Angel. So we just clear the mind. I guess we have Night Veil Sprite to pick up Disinformation Campaign, but then we can't block, so we die. Prepare your bones, we still have the Angel mana. Could theoretically mill out if I put that in the grave. We can theoretically mill out, so that might be risky, but it doesn't help us right now, so I still want to do it. Pass turn, down to 2. Send that in, block. They pass to our turn. We can't cast Prying Eyes because then we don't have Angel of Grace mana. Severed Strands is big. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have enough life to Severed Strands and hold up Angel of Grace. We need more toughness, though, if we're going to get out of range of Ill-Gotten Inheritance. We don't really have much choice but to cast it now, do we? Because if I don't cast it now, I go to 1, Chump Block Night Veil Sprite, and then I have nothing on board. I feel like it's just a forced cast here. Well, it's kind of wild we've lasted this long, thanks to Angel of Grace. But I think this is very similar to that Ethereal Absolution game. We just never had a shot. Oh, they're tapped out of the Ill-Gotten Inheritance. Not that it really matters, because they can just do it when it goes to their turn and they untap. So I still have to hold Angel of Grace in my hand. But if I had the mana for Prying Eyes, I could have cast it there while they were tapped out of Ill-Gotten Inheritance mana. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We have 11 mana without the locket. 11 without the locket means we can spend 6 mana on something. Which means we can crack the locket if we want. And still have Angel of Grace mana, or we could just cast Prying Eyes and keep the locket and still have Angel of Grace mana. If we crack the locket, we still have 2 mana after the Angel of Grace. We could hit Final Payment to blow up Aeromunculus, I guess. Kind of our only out. We actually have exactly enough to play Sphinx of Guildpact and hold Angel of Grace. Yeah, no, that's actually... No, that's our safest out here, is we just block Aeromunculus. We're sticking in till the bitter end. If we ever draw our own Ill-Gotten Inheritance, that's a possibility. that nullifies the 1 life loss every turn from theirs. And then we just need to keep our Angel of Grace in hand again to not get drained for 4. Oh, this is dumb. Chillbringer, that just kills me, doesn't it? No, they tap out of Ill-Gotten Inheritance. But we'll have to cast Angel of Grace is the problem. I see what they're doing here. Oh, it's hexproof for monocolored. Never mind. Do I want to just Angel of Grace right now? I don't think I do. But I will have to play it next turn now, because I need 2 blockers to block their 2 flyers. Which means I'm pretty out of it. I think I just cracked the locket and really hope for just wild stuff. Oh, those are not very wild cards, nor is Deadweight. We're mega dead, right? We get 2 flying blockers on the board, but then by casting Angel of Grace, they respond and kill me. Or if I cast it during our turn, they just kill me when it goes to their turn, because we can't stop them from putting us to 0. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We do have the mana to Prying Eyes before we Angel Grace, I guess, but then we won't have the mana to cast whatever we draw, regardless. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, we need more mana to survive. We need enough mana to cast Warrant and Angel of Grace. And I believe I already played the land this turn. We'll find out. Maybe I didn't. Alright, I already played the land this turn, so I'm dead. Yeah, I'm dead. If I kept Deadweight there, I like Deadweight Chillbringer, but then, again, I still need 2 blockers because we're at 1 life here. Yep, and now they can pop the Inheritance, which had me killed for like 10 turns. R.I.P. Man, this is the format of just busted enchantments. 4 and 2 now. I'm going to take another look at our sideboard here and see if there is anything that destroys enchantments, but I don't think there is, and I think that's why the enchantments are so strong in this format, is that there's very little unless you're in green. Yeah, we have 0 interaction for enchantments, so we just can't do anything in that Ill-Gotten Inheritance matchup, couldn't do anything in that Ethereal Absolution matchup, unless we splash green and play 4 color with a couple Crushing Canopies and Sprouting Renewal. But yeah, that is a good thing to realize. So when you are playing a green deck, definitely I would say Sprouting Renewal. I already knew that was super playable, but Crushing Canopy is probably pretty playable as well, just because of how good the enchantments are here. That's some scary stuff. Definitely going to take some games from us. 4 and 2. Let's head into round 7. All right, here we are in round 7. Not a terrible hand, not super spicy. Pretty good mana in it. Early piece of removal, and the great late game draw spell. I just realized last game was like Ill-Gotten Inheritance's revenge for me calling it a bit overrated. But that's probably more for draft than sealed, because the biggest thing about it in draft is that draft was like more aggressive, to where you would have a lot of games that are just like each player kind of curving out. So when you're both just like curving out and there's a lot of combat going on board, dropping a 4-mana enchantment that doesn't affect the board state can often get you killed. but these sealeds, the mixer sealeds here, have been super, super slow so far. So I think it's probably pretty exceptional here in this mixer sealed format. I'm going to drop Barrier Bones here. Just see what we're surveilling. Enhanced surveillance from our opponents. They're trying to do the same thing. They get to surveil 2 additional cards every time they surveil. If we draw Muse Drake, we don't get to cast it. So we're doing like nothing next turn if we draw Muse Drake. I'm just going to mill it. We're like super free to mill cards in this deck because of our double Clear the Mind. Just draw them at a later point when we actually need them. It's pretty much the same as scrying, tossing them in the grave. So the enhanced surveillance also can save them from milling out by exiling it and shuffling their graveyard into their library. 7 cards in hand. They play 1 down to 6. Now it's a Night Veil Sprite here. So that'll surveil 3 every time it attacks, which is pretty huge. I'm pretty happy to just Unexplained Disappearance that right now, although we have the deadweight to kill it. I probably have to pass to my turn and just deadweight it. The reason I really want Unexplained Disappearance here is because I really want to surveil and make sure I hit my 4th land, but luckily enough we just hit it anyway and get to deadweight the Sprite. They have 1 blue mana up here. What is it? Dazzling Lights? -3, -0. Surveil. Oh, I guess Enhanced Surveillance, they can sacrifice that or exile that at any time, so they're always going to be given priority. So it might take a little while going through their turns. As you can see. Turn 4 from our opponent. Blue, black, and white. It is really the mirror match, and a Sphinx is inside it is. That's a pretty sweet card for these kind of decks. Gain 2 life, draw 2 cards. Do hit the 5th mana for the Blade Juggler, so we'll just get it out there. If we get to our 6th mana for Prying Eyes, we've got some big card draw. We do hit the 6th mana. Passing turn. Seeing what they got here at 5. Doom Whisperer, that's a little bigger than our Blade Juggler. And it's got a horrifying enter the battlefield sound. So we have to Unexplained Disappearance that, or we're just getting slammed for 6 right now. So probably just Unexplained Disappearance, Clear the Mind here. Well, I guess if we surveil into something good, we won't want to Clear the Mind, because then we'll shuffle our library before we draw whatever's on top. Looks like they're going to surveil, set up their draws, which is really good with Enhanced Surveillance. They surveil 4 for 2 life. Ill-Gotten Inheritance is on top. That doesn't help us stop Doom Whisperer, so we're okay to just Clear the Mind here. It doesn't matter if we put it on top or in the grave, it's just going to get shuffled back with Clear the Mind. Sphinx of the Guild Pact, a pretty big flyer, but not as big as the 6/6 Flying Trample. We'll just hit for 3 here. We're looking for our final payments and our Severed Strands. That is neither of those, so Prying Eyes it is. I guess we could deadweight to take less damage, and then if we get to 7 mana, we play a 5/5 against their 4/4. Probably worth it. Probably worth it. Because if our top card is a land, then we Sphinx of the Guild Pact, and now we've dealt with the damage Whisper is dealing to us. It is still setting up their library pretty much perfectly. So if we draw land, we Sphinx of the Guild Pact, and if we don't, we just Prying Eyes next turn. Grotesque Demise on our Blade Juggler, so that we're not cracking back. Slam in for 4 with the Doom Whisperer. Cast a Blade Juggler of their own. And pass the turn, we draw Grotesque Demise. That does not get rid of Doom Whisperer. Prying Eyes, what do we got? Nothing that gets rid of Doom Whisperer permanently, but we can put it on top of their library, I guess. We do have the land for the Sphinx of the Guild Pact to play a 5/5 flyer against their 4/4 flyer. I guess if I warrant it, though, I'm getting rid of the Deadweight too. This is super awkward. And I don't think we're ever going to have the mana to dump out an Ill-Gotten Inheritance when we have to keep dealing with stuff like immediately. So we'll get rid of that for now. Play it later after Clear the Mind if we survive that long. I think I have to just jam out Sphinx of the Guild Pact next turn and hope for the best. Just unlikely to work out. We are taking 7 here. I think I have to take it all in case I hit the Severed Strands to sacrifice a creature and kill one of theirs. Don't hit that. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mana. Alright, please don't kill me. Please don't kill me, but we're probably dead. Doom Whisperer's nuts. 5 mana, 6/6 Flying Trample, and that's not all. Dovin's Acuity. This is a really good deck from our opponent. They're going for the Dovin's Acuity. That's kind of the disinformation campaign of Ravnica Allegiance, where it's like this just consistent value engine that can really take over the game. This one is about casting instants during your main phase to put it back in your hand, and every time you play it, you gain 2 life and draw a card, instead of making your opponent discard a card and you draw a card. So this one's much more about being like really good against the aggro decks. Disinformation campaign's just like really good against the mid-range, ripping their hands away. So yeah, QD decks are pretty sweet too, much like Disinformation campaign decks. So it's kind of like, well, they found the removal for Sphinx, so we're dead here, I think. It's kind of like looking at the opposite sides of the table here, the Ravnica Allegiance grind out deck versus the Guilds of Ravnica grind out deck. We can go to 1 and keep Barrier Bones on board. Oops. Wait, what? Alright, I guess I'm dead. I tried to click OK, but then I guess there's a button right next to OK that says stop blocking. Well, okay then, Arena. We were never going to win that game either way, so 4 and 3 it is. It's all good to get the misclick in the end there. 4-3 is a solid record. I'm always happy to hit 4-3 in Premier drafts, because that is where you basically break even, and it's a solid win rate, more wins than losses. Super cool with that. However, in sealed events, sealed is massively expensive. We don't get anything back. Well, we don't get our entry fee back unless we get the 6-win run, so not that happy to get a 4-3 here in the start. Pretty unfortunate time for us. Some big bombs from our opponents, the Doom Whisperer and the Ethereal Absolution. Ethereal Absolution was just absolutely nuts, because there's nothing in our deck that can even deal with it. Doom Whisperer was really bad for us too. We had a chance there. If we got Severed Strands or Final Payment, get rid of that, and then start trying to do our regular game plan afterwards. Our opponent's other threats weren't that bad. A 3-2 and a 2-5, stuff like that we could block with 0-3s and 0-5s and stuff like that. So that game was just did not have the removal when we needed it for the big bomb. Unfortunate there. And then the other loss was, again, just another scary enchantment, the Ill-Gotten Inheritance. from the Sultai deck that we just couldn't deal with. So 4-3 it is. Pretty happy with the record. I had no idea how this was going to work out. This is one of those kind of deck strategies that is pretty powerful in draft, but kind of awkward in sealed because you don't get to make your deck perfectly. You kind of just deal with the hand you're dealt. And so this deck looked pretty medium to me, but worked out decently well. Slightly above mid, 4-3 run. But that is going to end this sealed event. As always, if you'd like to watch some more of these videos, some more Magic Arena in general, especially limited content, stick around on the channel. You're at the right place. And we'll be back again with at least one more of these Ravnica Mixer Sealeds. I don't think I've had my fill just yet, but I'll also be doing a quick draft of Battle for Zendikar. No, not Battle for Zendikar. Zendikar Rising. Because that is the quick draft format now, and I did not draft that format very much when it was first out, so I'd like to get a little look back into it. So we've got Zendikar Rising quick draft coming up, at least one more of these sealed Ravnica mixers, and next week we have Tinkerer's Cube Drafts return, which I will do a ton of that. So once again, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.